Continuing on with my SEC predictions for 2023, we're now moving on to the Ole Miss Rebels, a team that was pretty solid in the SEC last year and will be again in 2023. However, Lane Kiffin's squad still trying to get back to where they were a couple of years ago when they played for a Sugar Bowl title. So, will Ole Miss get back to a New Year's Six bowl game in 2023, or will this team even jump down a couple more pegs on the playing field level? What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Prediction season is here, and I'm predicting all 133 FBS college football teams. That means I'm predicting your favorite team, so make sure you go ahead, hit the subscribe button, and ring the bell so you know when your favorite team gets uploaded. Again, we're going conference by conference. But hey, there are more ways that you can help support the channel. You're doing one right now by watching this video, and you can do more by leaving a like, comment, share. Really anything to help interact and support the channel would mean a lot to me. Now, diving into Lane Kiffin's Ole Miss Rebels in 2023, this is still going to be a very, very solid team in 2023, but can they take another step in the right direction? Can they get back to a New Year's Six bowl game is the question. How preview and predictions work this year? I go through a roster overview as kind of a preview on who they lost, who they have coming back, who they have coming in through the transfer portal and recruiting class, good things like that. And then we go ahead and move on to game by game predicting the entirety of their schedule. So without further ado, the Ole Miss Rebels in 2023. Let's look at their roster first and foremost. Got to start with the quarterback position here, and you lose essentially what was your backup last year in Luke Altmaier. Only 17 pass attempts last year for this team. He is moving on to a Big Ten program in Illinois. That is where he is, I do believe. However, you return your starter from last year, and that's Jackson Dart. Just shy of 3,000 passing yards last year, 62% completion percentage. Now, an area where he does need to improve is his touchdown-to-interception ratio. 20 touchdowns to 11 interceptions last year is not downright horrible, but it definitely leaves some room for improvement, and that's what Ole Miss fans are going to hope for in 2023. However, I am not super sold that Jackson Dart is the bona fide everyday starter for this team because their quarterback room is very deep. Spencer Sanders transfers in from Oklahoma State, and Walker Howard transfers in from LSU. And both of those guys, I think, could start for this Ole Miss team as well. I do think Jackson Dart will be the day one starter, but if he is not all that and is not living up to expectations, not showing that he's improving, I do not think Lane Kiffin, Charlie Weiss, and company are going to hesitate in putting in Sanders or Howard. A very deep quarterback room. They got a lot to work with there. In the running back room, will you lose Zach Evans, who was your second leading rusher last year, just shy of 1,000 yards, did have 9 rushing touchdowns for this team. But freshman phenom last year, one of the best running backs in the nation and probably the best in the SEC, Quinshawn Judkins returns, had almost 1,600 yards, 1,567 to be exact, and 16 touchdowns for the young kid. He was magnificent and probably will be again in 2023. Ulysses Bentley, who didn't get that many carries last year, will serve as the backup role. In the wide receiver room, some talent is leaving this wide receiver room. Yes, it is. Malik Heath, who was your leading receiver last year, is gone. Jonathan Mingo, 5 touchdowns between both Heath and Mingo. You lose that. And Jalen Robinson didn't get that many catches last year, but is a speedy option who was transferred away to another program. However, who are you returning? Well, Jordan Watkins and Dayton Wade come back. 5 touchdowns combined between the two of them. And then you get some transfers coming into this program. Chris Marshall comes over from Texas A&M, the former 5-star high school recruit, and Trey Harris is a group of 5 transfer coming over from Louisiana Tech. So key additions to the wide receiver room for Ole Miss, that's for sure. In the tight end room, well, you're going to lose Michael Trigg. That's a big loss, but you get a transfer coming in Caden Price-Scorn, who will be that tight end for Ole Miss in 2023. Offensive line going to look a little different. You lose Mason Brooks and Nick Broker, but you're going to return Jeremy James and Jaden Williams, while you also get a transfer coming in over from Washington in Victor Kern. Now let's move on to the defensive side of the ball. And hey, this is going to be a really good defensive line for Ole Miss. Really experienced defensive line as you return pretty much everyone. Jared Ivey comes back. JJ Pagase is back. My apologies. Cedric Johnson also comes back. And you also transfer in Joshua Harris. who was a transfer over from NC State, was pretty good for the Wolfpack there in his time. This is going to be a really good defensive line for the Ole Miss Rebels. In the linebacking room, you do lose Troy Brown, who was your leading tackler with 93 tackles last year, and Tavius Robinson, who led the team with 7 sacks a season ago, is gone. However, you do return Ashanti Sistrunk and Kari Coleman. You're going to transfer in Jeremiah Jean-Baptiste from UCF, and Monty Montgomery comes over from Louisville to sort of bolster up the linebacking group for them there. In the defensive back group, you lose a load of talent in this position group. AJ Finley, Otis Reese, Tysheem Johnson, Davison Igbinosun, and Miles Battle, all of them out the door, either to bigger and better things or on to new programs. Now, I'm not saying this is the defensive back group that's going to be bad this year, though, because they do return a lot of really nice players. 6th leading tackler last year, Isheem Young, with 66 tackles. He comes back. Ladarius Tennyson and DeAndre Prince all return, and you're getting some transfers in to help bolster it. Zamari Walton comes over from Georgia Tech. And then you're also getting John Saunders to come over for this team as well. He is a transfer from Miami of Ohio. Really good corner over there. So this is an Ole Miss team that definitely is going to be very competitive in the SEC. We'll see what lies ahead. The Rebels are coached by Lane Kiffin, your offensive coordinator, great offensive mind, and Charlie Weiss, defensive coordinator in Pete Golding. Here's a look at the 2023 schedule for the Ole Miss Rebels. Hey, if a date is underlined, it's a home game. If a date is in italics or the slanted text, it is a road game. A game in green is a blowout win. A game in yellow is, okay, maybe you should watch out for this game. They could lose it, but I do still have them winning it. And then red is just a straight-up loss. So without further ado, the Ole Miss Rebels in 2023, I think are going to start off with a real easy win against the Mercer Bears. No reason why they should lose that game. Going to be a nice little tune-up game to kind of see what you have and fit in different pieces where. And that's a game right there that Ole Miss has no business losing. And if they do, there's a bigger conversation to be had. Then what is going to be one of the most underrated games in the entire nation in 2023, the Ole Miss Rebels go on the road to play the Tulane Green Wave. Tulane was really good last year. They were Cotton Bowl champions, Group of 5 champions. They made a New Year's Six Bowl game, won the Cotton Bowl. They beat USC. And Tulane, I think, is still going to be really, really good. And by far and away right now is the best team. Maybe UTSA, you say. But in my opinion, Tulane is definitely that best team out of any Group of 5 school right now. Again, Houston, Cincinnati have all moved on to the Big 12. Michael Pratt is back. There are a lot of good weapons for Tulane offensively. There are some great players on that defense, and I think Tulane is going to give Ole Miss hell. I think they're going to give them a heck of a fight. Is it a game that I think Tulane can win? Absolutely, but I do not think Tulane is going to beat the Ole Miss Rebels. I think Ole Miss is a little bit of a too talented team here. They go on the road and pull off a close win against the Tulane Green Wave. Georgia Tech, while they are going to, I think, be a little bit better this year, Ole Miss has no business losing that game. In fact, Ole Miss doesn't even have any business letting that game get close. So I see them losing that game right there. Then a couple just really tough games coming up for Ole Miss on the schedule. You got to go on the road to play Alabama. Alabama's a perennial college football playoff national championship contender. And Alabama, I still think, is going to be really good this year. A lot of people think they're going to start to fall off a little bit. I'm here to tell you that that is just not the case. Nick Saban, again, the best head coach to ever coach the game of college football. He's going to have his squad ready. I don't see Alabama losing this early in the year, and I don't think Ole Miss is going to be quite there this early in the year to be able to beat a team like Alabama. So I got this as a loss for the Ole Miss Rebels. Now moving on to a game against LSU. That Ole Miss gets at home. Okay, this is a very interesting game for Ole Miss because while I do think they have the opportunity right in front of them here to beat LSU, I'm pretty high on what Brian Kelly has coming back for the Tigers this year. And I think LSU is going to be a very, very good team. I think easily that's a team that can contend for a national title, an SEC championship, a playoff berth, whether or not either, you name it, I think LSU can do it in 2023. I don't see Ole Miss stacking up, and while the Rebels keep it close, I see LSU being able to walk away with the victory when it's all said and done. So, okay, things are starting to fall downhill, but I think you get back on track with a close win against Arkansas. Arkansas's got a lot of question marks for me. What's the status of KJ Jefferson? We know what Rocket Sanders is, but what's the wide receiver group? How's that linebacking core going to look after it got decimated by the NFL draft? Arkansas's got some question marks for me. Still going to be a good football team. Not as good as Ole Miss. The Rebels win that game. And then they get their bye week. So they split their season half and half. And their first game out of the bye week is against the Auburn Tigers. Auburn is going to be a sleeper team in 2023. Make no mistake about it. Hugh Freeze is going to have this team ready to go. And I think it's going to be right around this point where Auburn starts to flip a switch and surprise some people. Do I think they beat Ole Miss? No. I think Ole Miss, at the end of the day, is going to walk away with a very, very close win. But if Auburn wins that game, do not be surprised in the slightest. I could easily see Auburn winning that game there. Just in general, I see Hugh Freeze's team surprising some people. But Ole Miss, at the end of the day, will be the better team. They will prevail and win that game. And while Vanderbilt is improving, I just don't see this being a very competitive game. Vanderbilt's got a lot of good pieces, and they're continuing to build, but I don't see this game being close with the stature of Ole Miss, so I do see them winning that game. This Texas A&M game is interesting for me. Texas A&M is going to be a team that's going to fight and battle in every single game that they play in this year. However, with this game being at home for Ole Miss, I don't see Texas A&M being able to go on the road and win this one here. Texas A&M is going to fight. This is a do-or-die year for them, and they definitely have the talent there, but I think Ole Miss is more proven as of this point, so Ole Miss gets that win. Then when you go on the road at Georgia, I do think this is the game that Ole Miss can keep close, but the defense of Georgia quite simply is going to shut down the high-tempo offense that Lane Kiffin, Charlie Weiss, and whoever rolls out at quarterback is going to be able to put out there. And the defense, I don't think, will hold up. So Ole Miss loses their third game of the year to the Georgia Bulldogs. Should be an easy win against ULM in Week 12 before the Egg Bowl on Thanksgiving Day against Mississippi State. I have said in some previous SEC videos that I did not trust Mississippi State to pull off an upset of this stature. I do not think this is a crazy game to call. In fact, I'm going to call it right here. Look, Mississippi State is still going to be a good team. Make no mistake about it. They might not get the record that they want at the end of the day, foreshadowing from Mississippi State prediction. But with Will Rogers back, with Jaquavius Marks back, there are still some good pieces in the wide receiver room in that defense. I think it's going to be able to slow down Ole Miss just enough to walk away with an Egg Bowl victory. And hey, at the end of the day, that may be a game that Mississippi State needs in order to make a postseason bowl. So once it's all said and done, I got Ole Miss finishing 8-4. 4-4 is their record in the SEC. I don't see them finishing any worse than 7-5. Again, maybe you throw in that loss to Auburn or that loss to Tulane. But their ceiling is 10-2. I think this team has what it takes to get to a New Year's Six bowl game, but the schedule is not all that favorable for them this year, which is why I land them at 8-4. That's going to about do it for me here. Until the next prediction video, remember to play hard, but tailgate harder, and I'll see all you guys in the next one. Goodbye.